Humans. About the body. Humans are the true image of God. They have been created in the likeness of the universe. Everything great to be found in the universe is reflected, in a small degree, in humans. For this reason, humans are signified as a microcosm in contrast to the macrocosm of the universe. Strictly speaking, the entire nature manifests itself in humans, and it will be the task of this chapter to inform about these problems. I do not intend to describe the physical occurrences in the body because everybody can find information about it in any respective work. What I shall teach is to regard man from the Hermetic standpoint. And I shall enlighten interested people as to how to use the fundamental key. The influence of the element on humans, in the right way. A well-known maxim says, "A sound mind in a sound body." The genuine truth of this aphorism represents itself immediately to everybody dealing with the problem of humans. There surely will arise the question, what health is from the Hermetic point of view? Not everyone is capable to answer this question at the first instant. Seen from the Hermetic angle, health is the perfect harmony of all the forces operating inside the body with respect to the basic qualities of the elements. There need not prevail such a great disharmony of the element as to set free a visible effect, which is called disease. For disharmony in the form of sickness is already an essential disturbance in the workshop of the elements inside the body. The main condition for the novice is to concentrate himself absolutely on his body. The outwardly visible expression of the body resembles that of a beautiful garment. And beauty, in all its aspects, is likewise an aspect of the divine nature. Beauty, properly speaking, is not only that which pleases us or appears to be sympathetic to our taste. Because sympathy or antipathy are dependent on the interaction of the elements. Genuine health is rather a basic condition of our spiritual rising. If we like to live in beauty, we must form our house, our flat, or, in this case, our body beautifully and fill it with harmony. According to the universal law, the elements have to perform certain functions inside our body. These are mainly building up the body, keeping it alive, and dissolving it. The positive part in the body, the building up, is therefore the business of the positive or active side of the elements. The preserving part is brought about by the linking or connecting part of the elements. The neutral, whereas the destructive or dissolving part in the body is realized by the negative qualities of the elements. It is obvious that the fiery principle in the active form with its electrical fluid will exert the active, expansive, building up influence. The contrary will be the case in the negative form. The watery principle, in its active form, will influence the building up activity. In its negative form, it will produce the disintegrating, dissolving activity of all the fluids in the body. With the principle of air rests the task of controlling the electrical fluid of the fire and the magnetic fluid of the water in the body, keeping them in balance. For this reason it has been characterized as the neutral or mediating element. It has been said in the fundamental key about the forces of the principle of earth that it has the function inside the body to keep together the influences of the three elements. In the active form of the earthy principle, it has an animating, vivifying, invigorating influence, and, in the negative form, it is the other way round. The earthy principle is responsible for the thriving as well as for the aging of the body. We could mention quite a lot of analogies with respect to the influence of the elements inside the body, but let it be enough with the foregoing explanations. Adepts of all periods never described the effects of the elements in particular. Probably to avoid any misuse, but they did know very well all about it. They divided humans in three basic conceptions, attributing the head to the fiery principle, the abdomen to that of water, and the chest to the airy one as the mediating principle between fire and water. How very right they were, with their dividing human becomes obvious at the first look, because all that is active or fiery takes place in the head. In the abdomen it must be the contrary, the watery, the secretion, the work of the saps, etc. The chest underlies the air and has a mediating part, because here breathing takes place quite mechanically. The earthy principle with its cohesive power or ability of holding together represents the whole of the human body with all its bones and flesh. Now the question will arise. Where and how Akasha or the etheric principle occurs in the grossly material body? In doing some deeper thinking, everybody will be able to answer this question by themselves, for the etheric principle is hidden in its most grossly material form in the blood and in the seed and in the reciprocal action of these two substances in the vital matter or in the vitality. As we have learned, the fiery element produces the electrical and the water element the magnetic fluid. Each of these fluids has two-pole radiations, an active and a passive one, and the mutual influences and interactions of all the radiations of the four poles resemble a tetrapolar magnet, which is identical to the secret of the tetragrammaton, the Yod-He-Vav-He of the Kabbalists. Therefore the electromagnetic fluid in the human body, in its emanation, is the animal magnetism, the OD, or whatever name it has been given. The right side of the human body is active electric, provided that the individual be right-handed. The left side is passive magnetic. As for the left-handed person, the contrary will take place. The emanative power of this electromagnetic fluid is dependent on the capacitance, the intensity of action of the elements inside the body. The more harmoniously this action of the elements is going on in the body, all the stronger and purer this emanation will be. With the help of certain exercises as well as by a correct attitude and an exact observance of these rules, the capacitance, strength and influence of this electromagnetic fluid or OD can be increased or diminished according to whatever necessity requires. The way of doing it will exhaustively be illustrated in the practical part of the present work. The electrical as well as the magnetical fluid in the human body have nothing to do with the kind of electricity or magnetism we know, although a certain analogy exists. This law of analogy is a very important factor in the Hermetic science, and the knowledge of it enables the adept to perform great miracles with the aid of this key. The food contains the elements mingled with each other. The result of taking in food is a chemical process by which the elements are preserved in our body. From the medical point of view, the taking in of any kind of food, together with the breathing, causes a process of combustion. The Hermetist sees far more in this process than just a simple chemical event. He regards this combustion as the mutual dissolving of food, just like the fire is kept burning by fuel. Therefore the whole life depends on the continuous supply of fuel, that is the food and the breathing. To supply every element with the necessary preserving substances, a mixed food is advisable, which contains the fundamental materials of the elements. If we were to restrict our whole life to a one-sided kind of food only, our body would, without any doubt, fall ill, meaning that such a kind of food would produce a disharmony in the body. By the disintegration of air and food, the elements are provided with the supporting substances, and in this way their activity is maintained. Such is human's natural mode of life. If an element is missing, as it were, the fuel, all the functions depending on it are immediately affected. If the fiery element in the body works excessively, we feel thirsty. The air element makes us feel hungry. The element of water causes a feeling of cold. And the earthy element produces tiredness. On the other hand, every oversaturation of the elements causes reinforced effects in the body. A surplus of the fiery element creates a yearning for movement and activity. If this be the case with the watery element, the secretive process will be stronger. Any oversaturation of the airy element indicates that we must be moderate in taking food at all. An oversaturation of the earth element affects the aspects of sexual life, which must not necessarily find expression in the sexual instinct in the fleshly sense. It is quite possible, and this will especially occur in the case of elderly people, that they will feel a longing for increased activity and for productive agility. In their active and passive polarity, the electric and the magnetic fluids have the task of forming acid combinations in all the organic and inorganic bodies, from the chemical point of view. Eventually from the alchemistic standpoint too. In the active sense they are constructive, and in the negative sense they are destructive, dissolving and disintegrating. All this explains the biological functions in the body. The final result is the circulation of life, which is brought into existence, thrives, ripens, and fades away. This is the sense of evolution of all things created.